At 63, he had already led a full life. A retired engineer in southern Germany, he had built bridges, designed precision structures, and led projects that spanned entire cities. His mind was sharp, meticulous, and his world well-ordered. But in one moment, all of that was shattered. One morning he awoke from a restless sleep, got up and walked toward the bathroom, ready to face the start of another routine day. Little did he know, this day would change everything. As he stood before the mirror, he noticed something he couldn't explain. His reflection, his own image, did not feel like him. It felt like a stranger, a person he did not recognize, standing in his bathroom, mimicking his every move. The face looking back at him was so familiar yet terrifyingly foreign. He couldn't place it, couldn't connect it to his own identity. He froze in confusion, trying to make sense of what was happening. But then, his rational mind began to slip. He stepped closer to the mirror, narrowing his eyes. The reflection stood still, mirroring him perfectly. It was as though the stranger was aware of him, watching his every move. Panicking, he backed away, but when he turned around, the reflection turned as well, following him as though it had come alive. His heart raced with fear. He yelled at the figure, demanding it explain itself, but it only stared back. Confused and terrified, he grabbed a broomstick, his mind spinning with a mix of fear and disbelief. With one furious motion, he swung it at the mirror, shattering the glass. He thought in that moment he had driven the intruder away. But when he turned to the hallway, another mirror presented the same face, the same stranger watching, waiting. The next few days saw the man spiraling further into paranoia. His wife, witnessing his increasing distress, tried to reason with him, but nothing seemed to help. He began covering all the mirrors in their home, even those in the car. He couldn't understand why he was seeing a stranger in the reflection. The familiar face he had lived with for decades now seemed to belong to someone else, someone entirely unfamiliar. It was as if his own identity had fractured in front of his eyes. The situation escalated. He was no longer able to look at his reflection without feeling terror. He started avoiding mirrors altogether, even if that meant stepping around them in the bathroom, staying away from reflective surfaces in stores. The psychological strain began to affect him physically as well. He had trouble sleeping. He was often irritable and withdrawn. The more he tried to make sense of it, the more confused he became. His wife was beside herself, unsure how to help, worried about his deteriorating mental state. His family, initially thinking it was a mental health issue, encouraged him to see a therapist. But after several consultations, it was clear that his problems weren't psychological. He wasn't delusional in the traditional sense. He could hold conversations, interact with others, and was fully aware of his surroundings. But something had happened to his ability to recognize himself. He wasn't simply confused. He was experiencing mirror agnosia, a condition so rare that most neurologists would only come across it once in a career, if ever. He was admitted to a university hospital, and a team of neurologists began conducting tests to figure out what had happened to him. They suspected some kind of cognitive disorder, but the results were not what they expected. Neuropsychologists administered a series of tests involving mirrors, asking him to perform simple actions like brushing his hair or tying his shoes in front of a reflective surface. But what they found was beyond puzzling. When he reached for objects placed behind him in a mirror, he could do it. But when he was shown a reflection of his own face, he saw it as someone else entirely. The face he once knew as his own had become entirely alien to him. A detailed MRI revealed the source of the problem: damage to the right parietal lobe, a part of the brain that plays a vital role in recognizing objects, spatial awareness, and, most critically, self-awareness. This area of the brain helps us recognize ourselves in a mirror, understand the relationship between our body and the world around us, and maintain a sense of continuity in our personal identity. In his case, a previously undetected small stroke had compromised this vital region, severing the brain's ability to associate his reflection with his self-image. The result was mirror agnosia, a neurological disorder that prevented him from recognizing himself when he looked into a mirror. He still knew who he was intellectually, but his emotional and instinctual connection to his reflection had been severed. The image in the mirror seemed foreign, hostile, as if it belonged to another person. For a while, doctors and therapists attempted to use visual retraining therapy to help him overcome the disorder. They began by showing him small parts of his reflection, such as his hands or his sleeves, slowly rebuilding his understanding of what he looked like in the mirror. He was also shown videos and photographs of himself in different settings, but despite these efforts, the core of his problem remained. When he looked into a mirror, he didn't see himself. He saw a stranger who didn't belong in his life. As time passed, he began to develop severe paranoia. He was increasingly distrustful of his reflection, and even began to believe that his image in the mirror was capable of thinking and acting independently. When he looked into the mirror, it wasn't just the face of a man, it was a separate entity, a reflection that could be hiding something, plotting something. It wasn't just an object, it felt like a person who could judge, watch, and even manipulate his actions. His wife, heartbroken but also desperate, removed all mirrors in their home, including the rear-view mirror in the car. For a time, this alleviated some of his distress, but his world had been fundamentally changed. Every time he passed a reflective surface, whether it was a car window, a puddle, or a shiny surface, he had to fight the rising wave of panic. The reflection he saw wasn't just unfamiliar, it was frightening. Today, the man lives in a modified reality. He still avoids mirrors when possible and requires help with daily tasks, such as shaving, brushing his teeth, or styling his hair. His wife continues to support him, guiding him through each day. They've adapted, slowly, to a new rhythm of life. But the terror he feels when he confronts his reflection is still a constant. He understands now, rationally, that the image in the mirror is supposed to be him, but it feels otherworldly. And no amount of therapy or explanation can bring him back to a place where he recognizes himself. His case remains one of the rarest, most mysterious instances of mirror agnosia. It's a neurological condition that challenges our very understanding of identity, self-awareness, and the mind-body connection. His story serves as a powerful reminder that the brain is a delicate organ, and a single malfunction can shatter the very foundation of what it means to be you. In this eerie case of mirror agnosia, the question is raised: what happens when the mirror you look into every day no longer shows you yourself?